Budget being released this Thursday and the much promised tax cuts for the squeezed middle. It seems that everything else is on the chopping block. Cuts are being made to a broad brushstroke of public services in order for tax cuts to be made available. But what is the actual cost to this? What is involved with what is going to be the impact on New Zealanders that are doing pretty tough? What is going to be the impact not just on the squeezed middle, but on people who are surviving to pay their weekly expenses? Joining me on the program now is a Director of Youth Development and Social Justice Organisation Kickback, Aaron Hendry. Aaron, kia ora, good morning. Thanks for your time today.
Kia ora, how you doing, mate?
Doing very well indeed. Firstly, talk to us about Kickback, the organisation, what inspired it, what sort of stuff you guys do.
Yeah, so Kickback is a youth development organisation. My wife Summer and I started about a year ago now.
Mm-hmm.
We're responding to youth homelessness. So we look at innovative ways to develop services that support and care for young people and children that are sleeping rough and don't have a safe place to live. We're just starting a project in the city centre at the moment, kind of like a centralised hub for young people called the Front Door, where if you're in need, you're in crisis, a young person can turn up and get the support and care that they require. So that's the sort of stuff we do.
Well, hey, thank you very much for your mahi. It is, tragically, certainly a service that is very much needed in society. But as the good folk in Wellington are putting together a budget to, what they're going to do with the money they get from us over the next 12 months or so, I suppose concern for those people who are doing it the toughest, people who are living on the street, people who don't have a clear idea of the way out of their current situation. Tax cuts for the squeezed middle, but what's happening for those people doing it toughest at the moment, Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've had a real focus and conversation around tax cuts, as if that's kind of like a silver bullet that's going to solve a lot of our challenges. When I think about the budget, I often think, look, that's almost the clearest manifestation of our collective values. It really, tangibly shows us who we prioritize and what we value within society.
Yeah.
Literally, where we put our money is what we value. And when I'm looking at the state of our community and what's happening around me, I'm seeing a lot of people that are really struggling, and where those tax cuts aren't actually going to help. And a lot of the cuts that we've already made or we've been indicated are going to be made are actually already adding costs to working class people and those who are really doing it hard. Real concerns just about the welfare of our communities at the moment.
You can tell a lot by somebody by where they spend their money. I suppose what their budget is. If you go through my bank statements, there's far too much money spent on drive-through food because I'm in a hurry and I make poor nutritional choices. And I don't know what that says about me as a person, but it's the same at a countrywide level. In terms of what is important to us as a society, we make some decisions. Now, hey, the decision has been made by most of the population. That was the election back last year. But now we've got a government who's been voted in. They've got a mandate to make some changes. I suppose there's a tendency to say, hey, let's make some changes that'll make sure that we get voted back in next time. Hopefully not as cynical as that. Are you optimistic at all, Aaron, as we head towards the budget?
Yeah, I mean, optimistic? Not really, I'm afraid.
Okay.
I think if we listen to the kōrero that has come out at the moment, I'm not hearing a lot of conversation around how we're going to meaningfully solve some of the real big challenges that we are facing at the moment. Like you said, we've had an election, we've made some decisions. I think it's a real opportunity for us as a community, as a society, to look at this budget and to see, well, where is the money going and how is it going to care for and support those who are struggling the most within our society. About a year ago, we started this conversation around the cost of living, and a lot of us started feeling like things were really hard. There's a lot of people in our community where the things have been really, really, really hard for years and years and years, where, just trying to figure out how to pay rent or how to, buy enough to feed your family is a daily occurrence. And more of us are experiencing that now. And so I guess we'll be looking at how do we actually get the support we need to ensure that, things get a little bit better.
For people in the faith community, for people as Christians, and look, I'm going to take a leap here. I'm presuming that that what you and your wife are doing, this is a a natural outworking of your faith. You're inspired by your Christian faith in order to do the work that you do. And hey, not everybody's called to that work, but what should the response be, in your opinion, from the Christian community? What sort of messages should we be sending the government as to how we would like them to spend our money on behalf of not just ourselves but broader society?
I think there's a conversation in broader society around, when we're focused on politics and budgets, we should be thinking about ourselves.
Yeah.
What do we want for ourselves in our farming? I think as people of faith, we're actually asked to look a step further. What do we want for not just ourselves, but for our communities, for those who are the most structurally marginalized in our society? And so when we're looking at this budget, I think we should be looking, where are those who are doing it the hardest, getting served and supported? And, as followers of Jesus, Jesus calls us to the margins. He calls us to stand with those who have been oppressed, those who are vulnerable, those who are suffering. And does this budget truly reflect a commitment to that service and to that care and to that love for others and those around us?
You see, it's really easy to blame the government in situations like this. Oh gosh, isn't it terrible what the government is doing? Or somebody should do more to help those young people on the street. I mean, you're actually doing it, bro, which is absolutely brilliant. But perhaps there is a challenge for all of us in this regard, because what's highly anticipated, what is promised, in fact, the finance minister says that she will resign if she can't achieve this, is tax cuts for middle-class New Zealanders. But hey, once those tax cuts are received, and it looks like it's inevitable that's going to happen, we as well, the middle-class New Zealand people that receive the tax cuts, they then get to have that choice as to what they do with the money. The government's given it back to them to say, hey, this is your money back again. Instead of blaming the government or saying somebody should do something, we literally are given the finances that could make a huge difference in our communities through organisations such as yours, Aaron.
Yeah, totally. And finances is part of it. I think the other thing you touched on was actually our response as a community, right?
Yeah.
So, as people of faith within our local communities, within our church communities, this budget is not going to solve all of our issues.
Yeah.
So how do we start having really critical conversations within our faith communities around, hey, we've got needs all around us. There's people who are suffering, who are struggling. If we have both resource, but also time and energy to start to actually serve and develop responses that are local and that are needed to serve our neighbours and our friends and our whānau around us. I think there's a lot can do as faith communities to really meet some of those needs, plug those holes. And as we're talking about a lot of cuts, that means that a lot of services that maybe weren't there, were needed, aren't going to be there in the future. Well, how does the church respond to that? How does the church say, hey, we've got families that are hungry, that are cold, that are struggling with rent.
Mm-hmm.
How do we actually provide those needs to our neighbours and be, the hands and feet of Christ in our local communities? I think that's a real challenge and a conversation as a faith community we need to have more of.
Because it's easy to outsource this, isn't it? Even as a faith community, to go, okay, we'll outsource it, the government can sort that, or we'll give a donation to a charity and the charity can sort that. And it's even sometimes reasonably easy if we see somebody homeless on the street or a cardboard sign at the lights to go, well, here's some change. Sometimes tougher to actually have those conversations, not as a community, but with people in our community, to take the time to sit down, to chat to the person, to ask them about their day, to recognize the image of God within them, and really to be part of the answer instead of just going, oh, yeah, we can throw money at this one and maybe it'll go away, right?
Yeah, totally. And, again, Jesus called us to be his hands and feet, right? And so no government is going to take away the mandate and the call that, Christ has put on our lives and on the role of the church to actually serve and care for those around us. And so there is a responsibility for us as a church, both, nationally, but also locally, to ask those questions. Where is Christ suffering in my midst? Where is Christ hungry and cold and struggling and under stress and strain? And how do we meet Christ where he is at in our local communities? And so, I think there's amazing, awesome initiatives that happen across our country within our faith communities. And there's another opportunity now for us to sit back and say, look, government's not going to solve these big complex issues for us. How do we organize? How do we get together and figure out how we can be a part of the solution for our people?
Hey, again, Aaron, really appreciate what you are doing with Kickback Make Change as an organisation. If people wanted to find out more, if people wanted to prayerfully consider putting a portion of their tax cuts into organisations such as yours, what's the best way of getting in contact?
Yeah, you can find us on all major social channels: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Just look us up, send us a message, be in touch.
Kickbackmakechange.org, of course, the website there. Really appreciate the work that you do and for taking the time to chat about this important issue. Kia ora.
Thanks, mate.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.